No matter what the public sentiment may be, whether in your favor or not, I think it's important to know who you are, why you're doing what you're doing, and what your purpose and your mission is, so that you don't lose track or lose sight of where it is that you're going.
Every single day, I'm gonna make something great. That's my way.
Hi gems, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, welcome. If you are a regular subscriber, welcome back. Today I have with me the beautiful, the gracious Danielle Mullings, who is the Guild President of the University of the West Indies Mona campus. Hi Danielle, how are you?
I'm doing well, Kamisha. Thank you for having me. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you feeling? How do you feel?
I feel excited. Also watching the waters and cautiously stepping boats. Yeah.
She's really a calm person, very patient. She has been here waiting for a while, and I never sensed any, not even the least bit of frustration or, very cool and calm for real. And I think I like her a little bit more today. So we're going to be talking with Danielle. To begin, we're going to start with a little brain teaser. I'm going to be asking you some questions, and you're going to be choosing this or that. Like, what would you do if? Alright, so the first one. What would you do if, what would you say rather, if the whole world, you have everybody's attention, what would you say?
So definitely, if I had the whole world's attention, I would say focus on young people, empower them to believe in their dreams or their goals, because when everybody is working in that area of passion and it comes together, it really is something different.
If you could choose between living twice as long or winning the lottery, which would it be and why?
Okay, well, I feel like time is the most invaluable thing ever, so definitely living twice as long. Yeah.
Not interested in winning the lottery?
No, I mean, who's to say I can't use the time and make money and be in the same position? So
and probably win twice as much as you would have won.
Exactly.
Alright, okay, so that's it for a little brain exercise, and now we're going to get into who Danielle is. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Alright, I'd say innovative. I really do love creativity and coming up with new ideas. Strategic. Caring, or I'm very like people-centered or people-centric. What else would I say? Focused, determined, those usual words there. Yeah, I think those would be my words.
Good, pretty good. So tell us about your early years. What were you like at primary school?
Cool. So I went to Stella Maris Prep, which was an amazing school. That's where I really first found my love for technology or computers, as well as for photography. That's when I got my first little camera. So between the two, I would always be in class, like challenging the teacher and saying, "Miss, you can't teach this before I learn it,"
Oh, wow.
And so we'd be going back and forth in computing class, So that was really something I enjoyed. I also enjoyed seeing how I could, again, empower the entire class. So I'd be doing things like, I might have a reading day and say, "Alright guys, everybody's gonna bring a Hardy Boys or a Nancy Drew book and we'll exchange."
You commanded that.
Yeah, in the sense that I was always somebody who was able to, I guess, influence in a sense.
Oh, I love that.
So from when I was little, it was always about how can I empower the class. And so sometimes the teacher would even say, "Alright Danielle, these are the two students in the class who aren't doing so well. Can you work with them?"
Love that.
So I would work with them after school sometimes.
At primary school, this is that?
Yeah, that's like grade 3.
Oh, wow.
The teacher put me in charge of the two students.
So like you're a tutor?
Yeah, as a tutor for them. So it's always about how can I help everybody else. I think I'm always thinking in that mindset even before I even feel it pinpointed it as something that I do.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've always been doing that, and I'd create study guides for a year, and the teachers started using them because they were like, "Wow, this covers the content very well. How did you even put this together?"
Yeah, beautiful.
So yeah.
And I also know that you were a part of your school challenge quiz team.
Yes.
What was that experience like? I saw a clip going around of you answering a few questions, and you were like, "Oh, it's gonna love it." How was that?
Definitely. So at the time, we didn't enter the year before. It was a few years since we had entered, so it was our chance to kind of bring it back for Stella Maris. And so of course we were very much excited, and we're training every day, and so I was a science student from that time, and again I've always loved science and technology overall, so it's been that continuation from there.
Yeah. How far did you guys go in the competition though?
We went to quarterfinals. We won the first match, we lost the second one, but then we were the lucky losers, or the losers that have the highest number of points.
I get you.
Yeah,
right.
so we went to the quarterfinals.
I love that. Alright, and then you to high school.
Mm-hmm.
Which high school was that?
I went to Campion College.
Wow. And Campion is a school where you have like creme de la creme. What was that like? Did you ever feel lost, or you were one of those?
I mean, definitely there were moments where I felt lost. And when I say lost, I mean in the sense that it's a academically rigorous environment.
Mm-hmm.
You really have to be pushing yourself.
Yeah.
And it also sets up that kind of, I think this is just internally though, each person, you kind of, I guess, measure yourself against others based on how well you're doing academically, because that's just what the space is like.
Yeah.
So I would say definitely I had to push myself in that sense. I think that's where I learned how to balance academics with leadership, because I would have been head girl at that point as well.
Oh, wow.
So it's really a whole journey of, that's where I think I first actually fell in love with leadership, connecting with the student body.
Yeah.
But it found me, and I think that it really changed my whole trajectory in leadership because I found that passion for it there.
Okay. And obviously you were doing a very good job. How well did you manage academics with that?
So I mean, I couldn't keep up like straight A's or 90s at the time, so it probably fell down to like a flat 80 or 79 thereabout. Which overall, I like to look at the bigger picture of what am I getting in life. So yeah, your grades may go down. This is not me advocating for bad grades, by the way. We just put that out there, right?
Yeah.
But I'm saying that I like to look at the bigger picture to say, all right, well, it can't be perfect in everything.
Yeah.
You have to balance it out. So yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And then you came to UWI.
Yes.
And you tell me a little bit about your first year. Did you start positioning yourself for leadership from first year, or were you more focused on just having a good experience and allowing whatever comes to come?
Definitely. So I actually took a gap year before coming to university. And during that gap year, I did a leadership program in Peru and Bolivia. So I got a scholarship to go over to this program, which I was very excited for because of Mercy. But that taught me so much about, I guess, being patient, being calm as well, people-centered. Because there are many times that we can't communicate to their host families because they speak full-on Spanish or they have this other language called Quechua. And when they start dropping some of that, it's like, have mercy, you know?
Yeah.
So if you're sitting around the dining table, and so you have to find new ways to interact even though you're not speaking the same language, and I think that taught me so much generally.
Hold on, that is a little intriguing. New ways to interact. So how did you interact with them outside of language?
Exactly. So you might start playing a card game. No, I didn't fully understand how the card game worked, right? But again, it's bonding with people and even acknowledging that you may not fully understand what they're saying, but there's that human connection that transcends even language or those barriers there. So it's learning how to have a vibe, I suppose. Yeah.
Okay, great. So you took your gap year. So tell me now, what was your first year at UWI like?
Right. So my first year at UWI would have been quite exciting because again, I really love computer science and anything to do with technology. So I was happy to study it. I was going back and forth though between should I study in humanities with the film program, or should I do computer science. So I ended up choosing computer science and going full on in that. I would have met so many people in computing. Like the lecture theatre is always big, and because I had taken a gap year, I would have known some second year students. So they would have been like, all right, Danielle, sit here in the class because that's nearest to the plug, so you can plug in your laptop during class time. You know, you can do this for that course, this for that course. So I really enjoyed my first year, to be honest. Of course, half of it did get cut because of COVID, you know, the physical face-to-face. So I would have been physical up until maybe February, March there, about when the first COVID case came.
You're in
Jamaica.
third year now?
I'm in second year now.
Wait, what?
Yeah. I know
Second
most
year
persons
now,
say...
so September you're going into third year.
Yeah,
so
most
you'll be a
people think,
third year guild president.
Yeah, I'll be a third year guild
I don't know
president.
why I thought you were going to be a first year graduate student.
No, most people do assume that, I guess. I mean, even when I was there in first year, people assumed I was a second year from how I guess how I operate and so on. But yeah.
So you're currently, you served as
FST rep during my second year.
What was that like
I loved
Corona?
it. I mean, I loved it so much. I mean, I'm always somebody who's going to find ways to adapt, right? And I would have loved to be physical and face-to-face because, again, that gives me an opportunity to connect with students in a different way.
Yeah.
But aside, I saw what was happening in that. The COVID cases were rising, we're likely to be online, and so I said, well, team, we just have to adapt.
Yeah.
We can't hold our fingers, cross our fingers and hope that it's going to go back face-to-face.
Yeah, I love that.
We have to adapt. So definitely we had to find new ways. You'd have seen the 3D Club Expo coming out. You'd have seen different activities or initiatives in the online space, because we're saying, all right, we're online, we don't want to just survive in the online space, so we want to thrive in it. And we're tech and science students, so let's throw in some of that flair in here. So,
I think you did a pretty good job because you were very visible. So even without knowing pretty much anything at all about the faculty, I knew that there was a faculty rep.
Exactly.
And I knew that there were things going on, and I loved that.
The thing is, visibility becomes even more important in the online space, right? Because whereas when you're physical, somebody might be able to see me like walk into the dean's office or, you know, about doing things, you have to show people a lot more in the online space because there's no way for them to see you physically.
Right.
So some might say, boy, that's too much PR, too much. But the reality is, it's important in the online space. They can't see you otherwise.
And it obviously worked for you.
Exactly.
Alright, so let's talk a little bit now about the big thing, and that is essentially becoming guild president. What was that like? I will tell you though that I had no doubts, by the way. I knew that you were one to beat. So while there was a lot of hype surrounding other candidates, and it's almost like I was never one of those persons who never saw you. Like you were in the race for me. It was between you or somebody else. I was pretty sure that you were never at third ever in my book. I just knew that you were one to beat. And I'm pretty sure that you would have also heard many things that were said about you. You didn't seem fazed by it at all though. But before we get to all of that, tell me what motivated you to take that step from faculty rep to the big seat, and what was that like?
Alright, so I probably decided in like late December or early January, but students would have been coming to me from September even before September, and I remember thinking to myself, why are they asking me to be the next guild president from September? Like, you haven't even seen me in the role of FST rep yet, you know, we're not even reach it. But what I saw was an immense belief in me, especially from the FST students, and there were even students from other faculties that were saying, no man, you're really pushing out and doing something different. And so when I saw that, I said, okay, that means that my message, what I bring across, the whole idea of empowerment, is really connecting with people. And so it would have been from that space, and also saying to myself, all right, I have ideas, I have plans and goals that could have worked out here. I think that this is the perfect time to run as well, because I see leadership in the same way that I see computer science or coding. You know, you have to do a whole heap of ethnography or studies to figure out what is the root problem. You propose one solution, it may not be the best solution, you try another one, you have to optimize it for efficiency with the resources that you have. Literally, it's the same thing that's going on in terms of problem solving and figuring it out. So I found myself even enjoying going to like UA meetings for you know, faculty board or academic board, and I'd read through all the documents from beforehand, so when I go into it, I'm operating from an informed perspective and position. So really, I think the role of FST rep would have inspired me a whole lot. FST is also the only faculty that is set up in terms of the committee in the exact same way that the guild is set up.
Was that something that you did?
Not something I did. I don't know who selected it.
Came on site like that?
Came on site like that. So they have a VP SSP as well, a VP PSI. It's literally set up the same way. So of course it's on a smaller level compared to the big seat. But it gave me a working idea of how these different roles integrate for a smaller population, and I can upscale that now for the big population.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about the campaigning process. What was that like? Who were the people on your team? All that stuff.
Definitely.
I know for sure that your parents, I think, Secolite and Chancellorite?
Yes. So, you know, my mom is always saying, Danielle, you know, whatever we do, we want you to make it look like foolishness. Like, we want you to take it one step further. So,
they were a part of the guild?
So, no, well, my dad had run for guild treasurer, but he was nervous at the time. He always talks about this story. So I'm nervous that he couldn't talk to the people. And everybody voted for the other guy, kind of, it seemed like, you know? But yeah, so they would have said, all right, we tried. You'll never succeed per se. We believe in you and you clearly have some talent in this. So definitely we're behind you 100%. And we also agree that this is the perfect time for you to run based on the environment and so on. So the campaigning process overall, I will tell you, I was heavily supported. And so I have to thank my team and also all the students that came out and supported. What I found interesting was that, of course, my team already has ideas and so on putting out. But there were students who would come and say, Danielle, here's something we think you could do for the campaign. And again, because I'm somebody who's very people-centric, I'm always a listen. I would integrate some of the ideas that I'm like, that's a fantastic idea. We can do this or we can do that. So again, I also believe that your campaign should be similar to how you intend to run, right? How you run your campaign is how you plan to run the office.
Yeah.
So that same focus on creativity and innovation, you see us come out with some IG filters, or you know, we have the flip HTML book for the manifesto points, like all those different. And also, I want to say that I heavily utilize like the creativity of UWI students themselves. So even the campaign song, the Vote Mullings to the Guild President, that's an FST student who is an amazing artist. And then it's combined with that graphic, that cartoon version of me that was done by a medical sciences student. Her name is Jada, again, amazing, talented artist. And in the logo, you'll see like a running figure. That's an animation student in Karima who drew that outline.
So your team was literally behind you.
Literally. So it's bringing together all these different elements and faculties and creativity overall to put together this campaign that adequately represents everyone.
Yes, it was indeed very beautiful. At any point though, because the other two candidates that you went up against, they served on the executive of the guild. Did you ever feel doubtful? Did you feel like it's going to be one of them? It's not me, but I'm doing it for the experience.
I mean, I always thought I had a good chance because I think, I mean, titles and positions are good, etc. But it always comes down to how do you connect with the people. That's my belief, at least. And so I knew I had a strong base in that. I knew I also did well in my FST tenure, so well that students looked on and said, yes, this is somebody that works. So of course there's always going to be a little bit of doubt, naturally, because you're looking on and saying, no man, you know, a two executive persons, two strongholds. They're, you know, they also have heavy hall backings, etc. And I knew it would be a lot to overcome in that sense. But I didn't know that we were able to do it, especially just knowing the quality of the team that I had behind me. So let me just big up my campaign manager real quick. Her name is Danielle, and she's also FST PRO, so she took on the mantle. I mean, at first I was going to run it without a campaign manager because I was looking at what things are needed, and I put the persons in place. So I thought I didn't need a campaign manager at first, but persons ended up keep reaching out to her and so on. So she was like, you know what, Danielle, I will learn it overnight. Whatever you need in a campaign manager, I will become it. And I was like, thank you so much.
She was one of your friends?
Yeah, one of my friends, definitely. And on the FST Guild Committee, which kind of probably turned into my campaign team, to be honest. But essentially,
I know how ugly elections can get, and I've said this many times, I love politics. Tell me a little bit about how did it ever take a toll on your mental health, like the whole election process? Did you ever feel like, gosh, why did I sign up for this?
I mean, that also is a part of, even last year when I was running for FST rep, and the same process when running here, I was like, that little nagging doubt in the back of your head is like, my goodness, what kind of, you know, foolishness are they going to pull up? Like somewhere they're probably on your 3 or your 4, or what kind of story are they going to create about you?
Did they pull up anything?
They didn't pull up anything, and I think a part of that is because I genuinely have a clean record. Because I said to my team, I genuinely don't know what could be pulled up. So, but I was saying probably it would, if they do pull something up, it would come from the perspective of it's not true, or they're making up a story. So when I would listen to the streets, so, you know, you have the different people give you insight. The main thing persons were saying is, oh, she's too young, or she needs to wait her turn and wait another year, or so on. But there wasn't any firm reason that could be given as to why I shouldn't get it. And when I recognized that, and I was like, they don't have no solid reason. They're just gonna make up things about she's too young or so on, you know. So when I recognized that, I was like, all right, we're really in a good position then. If they can't pull up anything, we're really in a good position.
And I remember too, I was listening to, and I don't remember if it was a live or you were part of a session or something. Kind of try to listen and see what's happening. So, and you were saying that you have sat at many tables where it was you were the only female there.
True.
What was that like?
So there are many tables where I'm probably, because again, I'm in tech, right? So probably the only female, probably the youngest person in the room, probably the only person from the Caribbean, might be the only black person. I'm used to being in the minority, so to speak, in those different groups. So what it has taught me though is that even if you don't see yourself, that doesn't mean that you can't thrive in the space. And in fact, it has, I believe it has now become a selling point almost for why we should include this young person in our different conferences and so on at the international level. So at first you may look at it as a weakness, but it actually may become your strength or that identifying factor for you.
Okay. All right. Now, looking back on your life in its entirety up to this point, what would you say is the most defining moment?
Most defining moment. So I think I spoke to it earlier in terms of Campion. I think Campion really push you hard, and so I had to learn how to balance academics again with high quality leadership, right? And I also have been involved in the Campion Basketball Association. I used to play basketball in like 5th form and 4th form, and I was president of that for a while. I was in photography club and leading photography club, and it's how do you bring all these different interests together as the editor-in-chief for the yearbook. You know, I was doing all these different things in media and so on. But what I recognize there is also the power of collaboration, because at that point I would have brought together about 9 head students from different high schools in Kingston, and I said, guys, I want us to do a service project where we help the homeless. So we went to a homeless shelter, did a whole day. Grace Kennedy sponsored, Heart Trust NTA came in to teach them how to access those training services to become employed, etc. That taught me a lot. And then after that, I would say my gap year also was a huge defining moment for me. Specifically that same program I said, where I spent 3 months on a global leadership program in Peru and Bolivia, because that I think it just had my brain thinking in a whole different way and different angle now because of the experiences I had there. So we were literally hiking through the Andes and the Amazon for days on end. And there's some days I was like, no man, I can't make it to the end of this at all.
But you did.
Exactly.
What is the lesson in that though?
Exactly. So what it shows me is, specifically, the first trek that we did, I had never been at that altitude before. So the first trek we did, the altitude is higher than that of Blue Mountains.
Wow.
I have never been to the top of Blue Mountains before either. I'm asthmatic. So when we started off, I was like, man, and I remember saying to the instructor, I really don't know how I'm going to do this. I'm wondering to myself, why am I put myself up for this? But he said to me, all right, Danielle, let's take it 5 steps and 21 breaths at a time. Or other way around. 21 steps and 5 breaths at a time. So what we do is say, all right, 1, 2, we count in Spanish. 1, 2, 3. And we reach 21, stop, take 5 deep breaths, and take 21 again. And he would also say, why are you, because I would be like 30 minutes or an hour behind the rest of the team, because I'm used to this, right? I was like, well, I'm not for myself, I come from Jamaica, come here, you know? But I'd be an hour, 45 minutes behind everyone else. So what I realized is we still reached on time overall. And he would say to me, why are you getting upset that you're not where everybody else is? And he said, look behind you. I remember physically looking behind me, and he said, your feet carried you all these steps here. And he is this overall idea of appreciating how far you've come, even if you're not at the finish line yet. And I think that was beautiful and taught me so much for leadership.
Alright, so if we're being honest, if we are looking on your social media, and I know not many of us post, maybe the better parts of our lives, or the parts where we're happiest, we don't usually capture those moments. Outside of the guild and the technology and the conferences and the this and the that, how is your social life? Like, what do you do for fun? That kind of thing.
So I like finding new cafes. I haven't even posted the half of them, to be honest. I posted one. But I'll go with my friends to different places. Of course, COVID has changed that, so you can't go out as much. But that's one of the things that bring me joy. Also, I love road trips and just seeing nature. And a part of why you even may see me post a lot is because a part of what I love is photography or capturing a moment, and I love the media and digital space as well. And so I may do little videos. You may see me do the High School Musical video. I dance with the people in school. Exactly all of that. It's maybe you may not see it as productive work or so on. But for me, that's just something that I do out of fun or finding joy in it. So I would say music as well. I love music or different concerts.
What's your favorite genre?
Man, I love all of them, to be honest.
Listen to dancehall music?
Yes, I do.
Like
I'm not listen to hard dancehall, so, right? Especially some of it may be like violent, so I don't, But I do listen to the occasional spice song with my friends or so on.
What do you call the occasional spice song? Give me an example. Alright, as we wrap this up, because we've been sitting here for a little while now, and the birds are in agreement that we have actually been sitting here for a little while, I want you to do 2 things. For the first thing, what advice would you give to incoming UWI students?
Alright, For incoming uni students, I would say you're in charge of your life. Like literally what you put in is what you get out. So I know many persons come in very anxious. You're wondering how you're going to operate in this space. You're wondering how you're going to transition from high school to here. You may lose some of your high school friends because you're in this new space, etc. And fundamentally, I think you need to take a chance on yourself. Right?
Take a chance on yourself. I love that one.
Yeah.
Love that one. Next, what would you say to students who are aspiring to become student leaders?
I would say each of you are more than capable, but you need to stop looking at what is there already and focus on what are the unique traits and elements of your personality and just how you operate generally that can provide something different to the leadership space.
I love that. All right, so you have many people who are concerned about what people will say about them, and sometimes what that does is that it hinders you from taking a step. What would you say to those people? And I'm pretty sure that during your campaign or just as a person, people would have said things about you that are not true, unkind. How did you deal with that, and how would you advise others to deal with that?
Definitely. So you have to take everything with a grain of salt, right? I think learning how to distinguish between constructive and non-constructive criticism is very important. And also having a board of directors, they call it, or your friends were not afraid to tell you the honest truth, right? I would say there are many persons who will say negative things about you, not because they're true or not because it actually reflects who you are, but because it reflects who they are at that point in time or what they are going through. And I think sometimes when you're bold and you step out into what you want to do, that can scare people, or maybe they've never seen it before, or so I would say don't be afraid to step out of the mold. Don't be afraid to stay steadfast in whatever mission or vision it is that you have. If others don't see it at first, that's completely fine, but just spend the time working on honing your own skills.
I love that.
No matter what obstacles are against you, and again, no matter what the public sentiment may be, whether in your favor or not, I think it's important to know who you are, why you're doing what you're doing, and what your purpose and your mission is, so that you don't lose track or lose sight of where it is that you're going. Whether you're in the public, public's good stead, or in the public's bad stead. You have to have that middle ground that reminds you who you are, where you're going, and what you're doing, so outside factors don't trouble you. It's human to have insecurities, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think there's nothing wrong with even having fears, just generally speaking, whether about yourself or just about life. Where it becomes a problem is when you stay stagnant in it, or you don't allow yourself to move, right? And so there are many times that I'm scared as well, or some big meetings, and even when I'm speaking after Dr. Tedros in one of the events, I was like, no sir, I was a little girl from Jamaica, oh my, on this stage, right? But what I recognize is that it's important to step even when you're fearful, and sometimes people don't even notice, right? For example, I used to have really bad stage fright, even while being head girl. I had horrible stage fright at that point in time, which followed me from childhood. But what I would recognize is, even if I do step forward anyway, I just take the one little step, and I reach on stage and I say, all right, let me start talking. Once you start hitting them off one by one, you eventually do get there. It's kind of the same the same idea of the journey, or taking 21 steps and then 5 breaths, right? You take one step at a time, and eventually you will reach your destination.
All right. Thank you so much, Danielle, for coming. I thoroughly enjoyed this. You dropped several gems, and I'm pretty sure that the people who are watching will definitely feel encouraged. If you have not yet subscribed, please remember to hit that subscribe button and leave a comment. You can follow Danielle on Instagram at
Mullings,
and I'll put it below. And of course, keep doing good. Love and light always. Bye.